Hey, what's up everyone? Andy here, and today we're going to be reviewing a private search engine called DuckDuckGo. Now, first, why do we care about private search engines at all? Well, there's a big elephant in the room named Google, and it has a tendency to stomp all over user data privacy. We know that Google tracks user activity, and it also gives in to the government pressure to release data and holds paid advertisers higher than individual privacy. So, what can you do if using Google leaves a bad taste in your mouth? Well, there are several search engine alternatives that could provide the answer. Let's review one of them, DuckDuckGo, to see how it stacks up against other search engines and if it could be a more private way to search the web. First, let's talk about what a private search engine is and why people turn to them over Google. So, DuckDuckGo is part of a relatively new breed of search providers known as private search engines. We call them private in comparison to Google as the market leader. And it would be an understatement to say that Google has a poor reputation when it comes to collecting user data. For example, each Google search leaves a cookie in the user's computer, which tracks where they go and what they search for. And this may be necessary to satisfy Google's business model, but it also means that the search engine is much more invasive than it needs to be. And that's because cookies allow Google to track where users go on the internet. Now the company claims that this is anonymous, but it's based around IP addresses, so that's not necessarily true. Either way, it lets Google build up in-depth profiles for marketing purposes. And speaking of marketing, sometimes Google seems more loyal to paying customers than ordinary users. For example, Gmail has been unmasked as allowing developers access to users' contact lists and emails. Not to mention, Google is part of the In-Q-Tel program and has not been open about its links with the NSA and CIA. In fact, some security experts have argued that the CIA made Google via investment decisions. Think about that. So Google has run into just a couple of user concerns. And that's where a private search engine comes onto the stage. They present themselves as a better option for users with a more ethical, trustworthy stance. Now, the question for this video is whether one of the leading Google alternatives, DuckDuckGo, is worth your attention, or if it's just a cheap imitation of its more famous cousin. Let's dive in and find out. Firstly, you'll probably wonder about the name. Some people may see a code for a hidden message, and it's not actually that exciting. DuckDuckGo's founder, Gabrielle Weinberg, just took the name from the popular children's nursery rhyme Duck, Duck, Goose, and chopped off a couple letters, and hey, it works. Okay, so the company itself was founded by Weinberg in 2008. Weinberg wanted to create a search engine based around answers, not lists of associated websites. That's why DuckDuckGo delivers instant answers to your queries along with more conventional search results. That said, it's what DuckDuckGo doesn't do that makes it stand out. When Weinberg created the company, he also wanted to create a tool which delivered relevant results without using any form of user tracking. So he created a system which doesn't rely on user profiling. Also, the company chose to base itself on open source software, which is held on the GitHub repository. This definitely separates the engine from Google. But don't be fooled into thinking it's purely altruistic. DuckDuckGo is a profit-making business which has partnerships with major corporations like Yahoo and Apple. It's not a charitable venture. It's a search company, which, while dwarfed by Google, still manages to process 30 million daily searches. So what are the key features that define DuckDuckGo's user experience? First, DuckDuckGo takes search results from a coalition of more than 400 sources, including its own search crawler, as well as Bing, Yahoo, and Search Boss. It also offers web search without user tracking. The engine doesn't log or track any IP addresses, and it doesn't use cookies to profile users. And for another point in its favor, DuckDuckGo search results tend to have a strong focus on quality, with reputable news sources given added promotion. Now, a few other things to note. One, DuckDuckGo offers almost totally anonymous searching via the Tor portal. Two, DuckDuckGo has search modifiers available called bangs, which allow users to search indexes on thousands of third-party websites by using the main DuckDuckGo engine. And three, DuckDuckGo has a mobile app, which provides privacy updates and websites before you visit them, and includes measures to neutralize ad trackers. And again, I want to mention that DuckDuckGo is a profit-making company with ad partnerships with Amazon, Yahoo, and eBay. So now we know what it offers users. The next question is, how does DuckDuckGo actually work? So the key difference between how DuckDuckGo works versus how Google works revolves around something called IP leakage. So what does that mean? Well, when you make a Google search and click on a link, Google will send that site the search terms you use to reach that link. And this will also tend to include your IP address, giving companies and Google the ability to track your movement around the web. DuckDuckGo doesn't do that. The search engine still delivers a list of possible links, but when you click on those links, no IP address information passes to the target site. This means that while the site can identify your IP address, there's no way for it to detect how you got there or learn anything else about your identity. Also, DuckDuckGo uses encryption to add an extra layer of protection when visiting unprotected sites. Now, as far as ads are concerned, DuckDuckGo doesn't take the Google approach of building in-depth profiles for each user. Instead, it just associates ads with the keywords you use. While that can be annoying for marketers, it's much less invasive for ordinary web users. So that all sounds great, but is DuckDuckGo safe to use? Well, so far in this review, we've been pretty positive about the company's approach to security and searches in general. And there is a lot to praise about the way it does business. That being said, nobody is perfect. Some experts have flagged issues with the way DuckDuckGo stores your web browsing history as plain text, which gives people the ability to locally access your online activity. Others have accused DuckDuckGo of being adware in its mobile app form. But this doesn't seem fair. In Reddit AMA sessions, the developers have been very candid about the way they operate. And when users voice their concerns, the company takes action. Another sign of DuckDuckGo's privacy reputation is its close links to Tor. In 2016, Tor switched its default browser to DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo has also been a vocal supporter of Tor as another company in the fight for genuine online privacy. In fact, since 2010, DuckDuckGo has offered a hidden version, which employs a Tor exit enclave. And we can see this as an indication of how serious Weinberg and his staff are about maintaining their engine's commitment to privacy. And on that note, I wanted to mention that if you are interested in bolstering your overall cybersecurity and data privacy, there are a lot of ways to reinforce your privacy in addition to choosing the right search engine. For example, you could consider antivirus software or private email alternatives, data removal services, things like that. And these are all ways to create a well-rounded privacy system for your digital information. Now, these are all doable for anyone, But I know it can seem sort of overwhelming at the beginning. So if you are at all interested in learning more about these things, or maybe learning about some of the top products out there, I do have a video on my top recommendations for cybersecurity products. So I'll link that in the description below, and feel free to check it out if you're looking for an idea of where to get started. Now back to DuckDuckGo. So we know that it keeps your data private, which is awesome. But moving on from privacy for a minute, the question is, can you also use DuckDuckGo settings to customize your searches? Well, as with all good search engines, DuckDuckGo users have the freedom to change a number of settings that affect their search results. For instance, you can designate a country to make your results more geographically specific. You can toggle languages to find more accurate results. And there's also a safe search function that parents will appreciate. In addition, users can turn off ads. Set the browsers to auto-load extra results instead of clicking through and selecting from 4 map services for finding directions from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So taking all that into account, should you switch from Google to DuckDuckGo? Well, that's up to the user. The choice is yours, just like your data should be. Still, like we said, no search engine is totally flawless. There's no single solution to protect your identity and your information. And with that in mind, it makes sense to use extra measures like a VPN to enhance your privacy alongside a secure search engine. A VPN extension provides an extra layer of protection to encrypt your data and avoid IP leaks. Now, I personally like NordVPN. It's a popular provider, affordable and easy to use. And if you're interested in learning more about that, we have an in-depth review of NordVPN linked below in the description as well. All right, everyone, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. And what do you think? Will you switch to DuckDuckGo? Do you have another favorite private search engine? Well, let me know in the comment section below. And if you found this video at all helpful, click the like button and subscribe to the channel for great information on digital security.